and welcome to another Ifá-Orisa tradition discussion. And tonight we are going to look at what is Ifá. But before I begin tonight's discussion, let me offer the Iba. Open ni fun Olorun, Olodumare, Oba Jiki, Mo Jiloni, Mo Wongu Meriaye, Iba Ila, Orun, Iba Iwo, Orun, Iba Ariwa, Iba Gusu, Iba Oba Igba Aye, Iba Orun Oke, Iba Baba, Iba Yeye, Iba Atiwo Orun, Iba She, Igungun Kiki Igungun, Iba She Ori, Ori Inu, Ipori Atiwo Orun, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. All right. Before I start tonight's lesson, let me talk just a little bit about the season that we are in, that is referred to as Carnival season. Carnival, based on many years of research, because I've been researching our culture and tradition for well over 20-something years. And what I discovered is that the indigenous people of Trinidad and Tobago started off the festivities having a celebration that was known as Enumentum. This is a very, very ancient tradition that was held in the Americas by the indigenous people. And let me qualify the statement indigenous, because normally when you hear the term indigenous, it is not associated to people who look like us. That is a fallacy. The reality is that our people has been in Mesoamerica, and we've been in the Americas a very long time, long before even the existence of European people. Now, what would have occurred is when the Europeans arrived, the colonists tried by every means they know to eradicate the celebration of Enumentum, but they were not able to so do. So as a result, they incorporated it into their religious calendar. This is one of the main reasons why today Carnival is normally held 2 days prior to Ash Wednesday. The Catholic calendar is an astronomical calendar that is designed by a group of astrologers in the Vatican. The Ash Wednesday is not chosen arbitrarily, nor is Easter or Whitsuntide or any of the major festivities. All of these things occur within the framework of astronomical events. Now, because of the adaptation and the inclusion of Enumentum, that tradition has been handed down to us over the many years. So you would hear some people would say it's the Africans, some people would say it's the French who introduced Carnival. The French had their form of festivity that generally included indoor activities. Many of the ancient cultures would have had street parades and festivals. But what we experience in Trinidad here has been very, very heavily influenced by West Africa. We basically have to look at the activities. Let's look at Trinidad's Carnival. Many of us are familiar with what is referred to as Old Mass. Old Mass is made up of characters such as the Dame Lorraine, such as the Midnight Robber, such as the Père Grenade. People would also play totemic symbols such as bat and cow and various totems that are associated with the African tradition. And most of these activities did not take place indoor, like the French masquerades, where they would wear the little mask and they would have their ball indoors. The parades are a part of the Egun type activity. Egun is not exclusively something that occurs in West Africa. It is something that was done right here in the Americas also. Some people call it John Cano, and in North America is called the Conas or Kunas, from the same word John Cano. In Trinidad, over the years, like every other art, Masquerade and Carnival has evolved into what we now see today. Music has always played a central role in the activities. Why? Because African culture involved a lot of arts and a lot of very rhythmic patterns of doing things. For example, the rhythms that we use with the steel drums, with the drum that we use with the tambu bamboo, all of these patterns and rhythms are Bantu in nature. The Bantus would have been the first group to occupy Central Africa. It is believed that these people would have originated in what is called the Proto-Sahara civilization, or the Ma Confederacy. Okay? Now, many of the people who lived in the Americas would have seemed to have practiced cultures that were parallel to what is in Central Africa. That similarity does not necessarily mean that they came from Africa to here, or that we left here and went to Africa. What it means is that the people are one people and they practice a similar culture. That's all it means. So for many of us who believe that it's only the slave population that came from Africa practice these types of culture, that is absolutely incorrect. If you research on many of the indigenous groups and their practices, you will discover that their practices are similar. All right? Now, as far as the markers of Carnival, Old Mass is where it started, and it further developed into what we now know today. And most of the characters in the Old Mass could be directly attributed to practices in West Africa and specific practices such as John Cano or Kunas or Masquerade, which exist in West Africa. All right, and that is just a brief history in a nutshell of Carnival. All right, so happy Carnival to everyone. So let me go now into today's lesson, which is what is Ifá. All right, I'm going to read from a document that is called Practical Foundations of Ifá and give some very basic information. For persons who do not know anything of Ifá, this here is a good opportunity for you to learn some of the basics about Ifá. All right, Ifá is a beautiful system of morality veiled by allegory and illustrated by signs and symbols, which describe the human condition. Ifá, as a blanket term, describes a spiritual tradition of West Africa that is non-Abrahamic. And by non-Abrahamic, what it means is that it does not share the historical or moral landmarks of Islam, Christianity, nor Judaism. Ifá is monotheistic in some of its aspects in that it is centered around one God or creator as a core aspect of its practice. It is, however, polytheistic or plural in a sense that there exist many emissaries of God or creation in the form of deities and spirits. God itself is the sum of many parts, most of which are named and venerated separately as emissaries in various forms, such as Orishas, Orunmilas, and ancestors. Ifá, as a corpus of knowledge, is the encoded messages of Olodumare, who is the creator for all of mankind. These revelations and prophecies are delivered through its emissaries and translated by its trained priests and spirit mediums. Orunmila, as the original prophet of Ifá, is respectfully referred to as the deputy of Olodumare in all things pertaining to his omniscience and wisdom. Having been witness to the moment when each person's destiny is sealed, he is given the appellation of Eleri Ipui Ibikeji Olodumare, meaning witness to fate and the one who sits at the right-hand side of the Creator. Orunmila is stated as the divinity capable of mending one's Ori, which is also referred to as one's Godhead, one's inner self, as well as the self-creator. Orunmila's name comes from the contraction of the words Orun, Niomo, Orila, meaning only heaven knows the way to salvation. Many verses of Ifá speaks of the role of Ifá, of Orunmila, in relation to Ifá. Over many generations of practice, the people began to refer to Ifá as Orunmila. So they use the names synonymously. as a result of the close association of the two. But Yoruba scholars and Ifá priests, Solagbade Popola, says that despite the close association and the fact that many sacred texts use the names interchangeably, Orunmila is not Ifá and Ifá is not Orunmila. They occupy fundamentally different roles. Ifá, as it were, is the embodiment of Olodumare and esoteric consciousness, a level only attained by Orunmila. Many of the verses of Ifá state Orunmila is referenced as the deliverer and interpreter of Olodumare's message. Ifá is coexistent with Olodumare, and so one may hear Ifá referred to as Ifá-Olodumare or Orisha Agbaye, Lord of the Universe. Ifá as a practice includes worship of Orunmila as the prophet or as an Orisha. Orunmila organized the encoded messages of Ifá by creating a binary system formatted through the use of the 256 Odus. These Odus represent the totality of the esoteric wisdom of Olodumare. This is one of the many reasons why Orunmila holds such great importance and respect in this tradition of worship. Orunmila began to share the knowledge and secrets that he divinely received with heavenly beings we know as Iromole. These Iromole, in turn, began to add to the body of knowledge passed on and developed other areas of these secrets. Orunmila then pooled this added knowledge together and further incorporated them into what we know of and call the corpus of Ifá. All right. Over time, Orunmila began to enjoy a great amount of distinction and praise among his many followers because of his contribution and works. Many of these stories are recorded in verses of Odun. It is important to emphasize the fact that the honor given to Orunmila as the organizer of the body of knowledge known as Ifá documents not in any way take from the honor given to all the other Orisha. They, the Orisha, as a whole, including Orunmila, all possesses an intrinsic value, and all other divisions of valuation given are man-made. Historically, as colonization spread, and because Ifá was male-centered, it was given more regard and respect than almost all the other Orisha devotees, many of which were strongly female-led in. All right? So, in a nutshell, that is the basics of Ifá. All right? So, for persons wanting to know more, we will be offering books soon. We have one book that is called Orisha Osanyan Herbal Workbook. We also have another book called The Fundamentals of Ifá. These two books would be out and available soon. We have two other books, but those other books would be for persons who are interested in initiation or who are interested in becoming members of either Ijuba or the Otun. One of my several Olowo would be here in April, where he would be performing initiation for persons who are interested in becoming initiated. So if you're viewing the stream, you are interested, or you have someone who's interested, feel free to contact me on my page, personal page, or in the Ijuba Ode Otun group online. All right, with that, I would like to say you do good for yourself. You do bad for yourself. And we would meet again soon. So, Odabo, and see you.